Okay, everybody. So this is gonna be gonna call it a martial arts story time. Coming to you from a black sash, or for those of you who wonder what a black sash is, it's equivalent to a black belt. So this story takes place when I had about maybe less than a year in the martial arts. It was ninth grade. Obviously, most of my stories have a moral to them, but here goes the story. So one time, me and my buddy, the buddy I've mentioned before that he's the reason I actually got into the martial arts, was because I wanted to fight him, and then we ended up being best friends. Well, one night we were walking through his neighborhood. Now, his neighborhood wasn't the best neighborhood in the city. It was kind of a sketchy, rough area. But regardless, I mean, we weren't strangers to the area. So what happened was that we were walking around and we were already getting back to hang out at his pad. So we're about a block away and walking late at night, and in front of me was you could say an acquaintance of mine, kind of like a buddy of mine, walking towards us, actually in one of my classes in ninth grade. So he was walking towards us. Me and my buddy, we recognized him right away. So as he was walking towards us, you know, I first thing I did was, "Hey, what's up, man?" You know, not mentioning his name. I'm just gonna say, "What's up, man?" And the guy was quiet, but he was still walking towards us. So I'm like, okay, maybe he didn't hear me, or you know, maybe or maybe he doesn't know who I am, because it is night. So I was gonna say hi to him again once he got closer, where he probably would recognize me and be like, actually, the guy sat behind me in class, and you know, we would always goof off, you know. So guy walks towards me. I say, "Hey, what's up, man?" He didn't hear me, but then when he got to my left side, walked past me, first thing he did was throw a straight punch to my face. That punch, now he was at a close distance, so the punch didn't seem to have, it had more of a pushing effect versus a striking effect. So it pushed me right against the car that was parked on that sidewalk. So when he hit me, the first thing I thought was like, oh, what's happening? Now, obviously the whole reason was because I didn't have my guard up, because I'm like, well, I know this guy, he sits right behind me. Regardless, after the first punch, he kept on going and punching me while I was against the car. And I have to say, due to the repetitive training I had in the martial arts, I could honestly say, aside from the first hit that hit me in the face, the other ones I was able to actually block while he was going at it. I actually was able to, the word's not dodge. I manipulated his punches while they were coming at me, while I was pinned to a car. So I mean, I'm actually really grateful for the level of training that our teacher gave us, especially in such a short time that I've been in martial arts. But the guy was, you could say he was very strong, looked really built. It showed that most of his free time, what he did was work out. Guy had big knuckles, like that's one thing I remember about him. So he's been in quite a few fights, but aside from the one punch that he hit me with, I still had enough muscle memory to avoid the other strikes. Now, all this happened a split second when my buddy realized what was going on, because my buddy, the one in martial arts with me, he was also shocked because he knows who the guy was too. So he grabbed the guy and pulled him away from me. And then the guy just kept on, the guy was yelling and then just walked away. So obviously he wasn't in the right state of mind. My buddy got mad and he, you know, he wanted justice for me, but I told him, like, you know, it's okay, man. I mean, nothing really happened, and the punch didn't really do any damage. But and then just to fast forward, my buddy from school, the next day was a Saturday, so this was a Friday. Next day was a Saturday. I was actually walking to the park in a different side of town, and I bumped into him, and the guy actually saw me and apologized. This time I was more alert. I'm thinking, like, okay, is this the guy I know from school, or is this a guy that I now know from the sketchy neighborhood? But no, he started, said, hey man, you know, hey, I'm sorry, man, I wasn't all there, you know. Like, I mean, I don't want to assume that he was under the influence, but, you know, he basically told me that he wasn't all there. And at ninth grade, I still really wasn't familiar to the whole, you know, how drugs work or what they do to you. Personally, I've never done anything other than be around friends that have smoked marijuana, but I've never actually myself done any of that with any type of drug. I mean, so it wasn't something that I was exposed to, so I didn't really know what was wrong with him. You know, even when he told me that he wasn't all there, I took it like a momentary lapse of knowledge or something, you know. But yeah, he wasn't all there. But he did apologize the next day. You know, he said he would not have done that if he knew it was me. Regardless, the point is that this dude was dangerous during that instant. And if he had a weapon, most likely he would have used it. Because in his mind, he probably thought I was somebody else. So now comes the moral of the story. Now, my moral is not don't trust people. That's not my moral. My moral is, you know, always be on your guard. Now, if you're not a martial artist, it's going to be like, oh, well, how do I do that? You know, how do I not be on my guard? I don't even know how to fight. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're not a martial artist, or you don't practice any form of fighting or any form of combat or self-defense, it's going to sound pretty foreign to you. But if you are, like I said, this channel tends to what's the word I'm looking for? A little brain fart here. Attract martial artists. That's why I call it Combatant philosophy, because a lot of the stuff I have to share, it's kind of like a big inside joke to other martial artists who understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, if it doesn't matter if you're around friends, if you're in a public place, if you're at a church, it doesn't matter where you're at. As a martial artist, and I learned this through time, you should always be on your guard, because you never know what's going to happen. Now, it doesn't mean to be paranoid. That's very different. Just like a samurai is not paranoid. A samurai is just always on their guard. They're calm, they're quiet, and they're using all their senses to their environment. So it was a good lesson. You know, I'm glad I was able to come out of it unscathed, but it could have gone worse. Or happening to somebody else, it could have gone a lot worse. Because, you know, the guy did throw a few punches, and most of them ended up hitting the car versus hitting me. And I also had my buddy there to peel him off me. So, you know, as you train the martial arts, one of the biggest thing is you should train your guard. Doesn't mean you gotta walk in a fighting stance. It just means, when I say train your guard, it means you know what position you're gonna be in whenever something bad might happen. I mean, you never know. You could be at church, and maybe you know, church is a public place. Maybe somebody, again, who's not all there, wants to walk in and wants to, you know, cause some drama. They want to cause a scene. Maybe they're angry and they want to display it. So you never know where you're at. And it's not about, again, it's not about being paranoid. It doesn't mean that just because you're anywhere in public, something bad's going to happen. It just means that, you know, you should have a level, as a martial artist, you should have a level of awareness at all times of your surroundings. And you should know, what to do in case anything, any random thing were to happen. How will you react to random circumstances in life? So that's a little story time for you guys. I find it entertaining when I tell this story, but maybe some of you guys can relate. Maybe some of you guys are just kind of like, well, whatever. But again, this is the moral here is just, always have a level of being on your guard and be ready for any circumstances. Bye, everybody.